I've taken dozens of cruises to the Bahamas, and there are a few things to know before you visit the country on a cruise. The Bahamas is a really popular cruise destination because of how close it is to the US, and you'll find many cruise lines offering short and long cruises to the islands. Most itineraries visit Nassau, and many cruise lines offer visits to their private destination too. Now, I just got back from a 4-night Bahamas cruise on Royal Caribbean's Utopia of the Seas, and I thought about how much you really need to know before you go so you can be prepared for a Bahamas cruise, especially if it's your first cruise ever. So in today's video, I've got a rundown of what you should know before you go on a Royal Caribbean cruise to the Bahamas and what you should be doing when you go there and some of the lessons I learned after going on a Bahamas cruise recently. First, let's talk about destinations you'll visit. My cruise visited Nassau and Royal Caribbean's private island, A Perfect Day at Coco Cay. I'll be sharing tips for A Perfect Day at Coco Cay, but if you're sailing to another cruise line's private island, you can use some of these tips for that destination as well. Perfect Day is the easy day. This is Royal Caribbean's private island. Your cruise ship pulls in here, you dock, and there's a lot that's included. You really don't have to spend extra on things to do at Perfect Day at Coco Cay. I certainly didn't. There were people that purchased admission to places like the Coco Beach Club, which is the elevated beach experience, the Hideaway Beach area, which is the adult-only area. But I really didn't feel the need to go there because I think Royal Caribbean's free/included, whatever you want to call it, amenities around Perfect Day at Coco Cay are really compelling. Oasis Lagoon, Chill Beach, Harbor Beach, South Beach. These are great areas, and also the food is really good here as well. So I just didn't think it's really worth it. If it's your first time going to Perfect Day at Coco Cay, while it is very tempting to purchase an extra cost admission to like a water park or one of the other elevated areas, I really don't think you have to, unless you really have an angle or maybe you're really dead set on a certain thing. Obviously, if you're looking for a nicer day, a less crowded day, Coco Beach Club is going to deliver on that. There's no doubt about that. But not everybody necessarily needs it because I find that I can find a spot for my family around the island. So I really feel like doing my own thing at Perfect Day at Coco Cay is more than good enough. I think it's a really good day. My top spots, my recommendations is start off with Oasis Lagoon in the morning, which is the large pool right in the middle of the island. And then when you're kind of pooled out, go over to Chill Beach or Breezy Bay and enjoy the beach area. If you have young swimmers, go over to Harbor Beach. In fact, if you got kids that are under the age of 7 or so, there's actually a free complimentary area with both Splashaway Bay and Captain Jill's Galleon. It's like we'll call it a poor man's water park, but it really is a great place for kids to get absolutely drenched, run around like crazy. They will love it. I think if you want to spend extra, like Thrill Water Park, well, obviously if you have older kids who are looking for like a water park experience day, that's something to do there. The adults-only beach is, well, the adults-only area. So that's important to you. Well, then Hideaway Beach is great. Personally, I don't really mind kids, number one. And number two, like I can find my own corner, if you will. I find the island is big enough and dispersed enough that if I'm looking for more of an adults-only vibe, I might head to the Oasis Lagoon Swim a Bar, which tends to lean in an adults only type vibe, or maybe I'll go like all the way to the end of South Beach or just further away from some of the families there, set up our island shop and on your way. I do like cabanas, and I have rented a number of cabanas around Perfect Day. I think it actually is one of the better investments if you're going to splurge, but obviously you would need a larger party. Considering I was solo on this cruise, that wasn't necessarily an issue here, so I skipped them. But on future sailings, in which I do have friends and family coming out with me, well, then I might get a cabana there because it's always nice to be able to host friends and people to hang out, have a home base of operations, makes it easier for the kids, and it's just more convenient. Yeah, it's going to cost more, but if you can time it right with a good sail, the cabana's not a bad splurge. That brings us next to Nassau. Nassau is a complicated port. And what I mean by complicated is it's not the highest rated port out there. In fact, a lot of people who cruise a lot will tell you that Nassau is a port they usually skip. And I did too. I've done beach days. I've done the resort for a day type experiences. We've even gone around the city and seen some of the historical sites. If you've never been before, I'd say your best bet is either do the beach day, which I think what a lot of people end up doing, or going into Nassau and checking out some of the historical sites like the Queen's Staircase, Fort Fincastle, a couple other areas. It's not an all day thing, but there's probably enough to keep you busy there, at least in the morning, and then probably hit one of the beaches. The thing is, Nassau is about to change because Royal Caribbean is going to be opening its Royal Beach Club, and this is going to be a whole new option that's really going to, I think, fundamentally shift how we think about Nassau. So unlike Perfect Day at Coco Cay, this really is like a Royal Caribbean excursion. There's limited capacity, but it's only available to people who are on Royal Caribbean ships, and there's an admission cost here, but it is all inclusive. So the nice thing is your food and drink and Wi-Fi and beach chairs and access to the pools and beaches are all included for one price. The downside, it's not cheap. I mean, you're probably going to end up paying right around $200 a person. It depends on the sail and when you're sailing to and some other factors there, but you're probably going to pay around, for the one with alcohol anyway, for an adult, around $200 a person. The idea here is it's the easy button. It's run by Royal Caribbean. Everything is made for you, and they understand what Royal Caribbean guests are looking for because they built this for Royal Caribbean guests. So it makes it, quite frankly, the simplest, easiest way to have a fantastic beach day, because that's what Royal Caribbean wants to have with this beach club. They want to make it the ultimate beach day, the thing that is head and shoulders above. There are other places in Nassau you can go to, like the Bahamas or Atlantis, but they have equally high admission costs, and they're not all inclusive. Royal Caribbean includes way more for it, not to mention the fact that the beach club is much closer to where the cruise ships dock, so the commute time is significantly less. And by the way, Royal Caribbean includes transportation between the cruise ship and, of course, the beach club, whereas they don't do that if you're going to Atlantis or Bahamas or any other resort area that you get a day pass for. I hate to pigeonhole everybody and say, if you're going to Nassau, you should only go to the beach club. I don't think that's really fair to say. Nassau has more going for it. In fact, if you were ever to do a catamaran or something else on the water, like maybe a fishing excursion, I think there's something to do here. And I think you should explore all options. Don't just simply go for the first thing that you see. But Royal Caribbean, to its credit, is trying to make it just about as easy as possible, because over the years, up until now, people really kind of poo-pooed Nassau as being this lame port with a lot of disappointing options there, and just doesn't really strike a chord with people. Since this video is all about the Bahamas, before somebody comments, you didn't talk about all the places you can go in the Bahamas on a cruise, you're right, I didn't talk about Freeport or Bimini. Royal Caribbean does occasionally offer cruises here, but I bet you a beer bought from my neighbor Kenny that your cruise ship is probably not visiting one of these ports. They are visited very infrequently by Royal Caribbean. You could go there, but I don't think it's going to be. So for that reason, I'm not even including in this video. But yes, you're right. Technically speaking, you could go to one of those other places. Speaking of the Bahamas, now let's talk about when's the best time to go there, because the Bahamas is definitely a year-round cruise port, but there are definitely months that are going to be more comfortable anyway. While the Bahamas are definitely in the tropics, they're not actually in the Caribbean. They're so far north that they're actually more prone to some of the weather conditions, especially fronts moving through, and certainly not as warm as you might find in places such as Puerto Rico or the Virgin Islands. That being said, you're more likely to find the best weather, most comfortable weather, between the months of November and April, because this is when you'll find the least amount of rain. The rainiest months, though, are definitely June through September. And when I was there on Utopia of the Seas at the end of September, it rained in the afternoon, which is pretty common. The only good thing is, if you're going during a rainy part of the year, is that usually the rain is short-lived. It's one of those days where in the morning it's beautiful, and then a storm rolls through, but it's only an hour or so, even less of rain, and then the sun comes back out again. Truly, the biggest issue with going to the Bahamas is hurricane season, because hurricane season runs between June 1st and November 30th, but the months of August and September are definitely the peak of the season, even in October to some extent. If there was a hurricane that was going to go into the Bahamas, well, your cruise ship's not going to go anywhere near there. You'll end up getting probably readjusted and rerouted somewhere else. If you're taking a Bahamas cruise during the winter months, like December, January, and February, it's definitely the coldest, and I'm using air quotes here, because you can expect temperatures in the 60s or 70s. The bigger issue is that it's not so much that it's uncomfortable or cold outside, it's that the water, or being in or out of the water, can feel way colder because it's not nearly as warm. So a lot of people want to know, is it too cold to go swimming if you're going to the Bahamas or Perfect Day Coco Cay in December or January or February? And it really depends on you. I would say, yeah, it's not one of those times where you could be in or out of the water and not be cold. There are definitely times in which having a heated pool is a big advantage. If you're going to Perfect Day Coco Cay in the month of January, I would actually lean towards booking the Cocoa Beach Club or Hideaway Beach, because both of those spots have heated pools. The good news, by the way, is the new beach club that's opening in Nassau. That is all heated pools. You always have that as a backup. So was it worth it to take a Bahamas cruise? I certainly didn't regret it, but it's not the kind of cruise I plan my family vacations around. I think 3 and 4 night cruises that visit the Bahamas are the kind of cruises you should use to do a weekend escape, or hey, look, I've got extra PTO coming up. Let's use that. I think if you're looking for your first cruise, I would definitely lean towards a 7-night sailing. And this is very contradictory to what most first-timers think about. First-time cruisers often think, okay, I've never been on a cruise before. I'm going to pick a short one, so that way if I hate it, well, it's over soon. While this has some logic to it, I ultimately think that even as a first timer, you like cruising more than you think, and going on a 7-night cruise allows you to visit some more exotic places. You might still go to Perfect Day Coco Key in the Bahamas, but you may also go to the Virgin Islands or Cozumel, Mexico, and these are absolutely stunning places that offer so much more than the Bahamas can. The other thing is, if you're going on like a Utopia of the Seas or a Wonder of the Seas that offer these 3 and 4-night cruises to the Bahamas, you're paying top dollar for going on a new ship that goes there. If you happen to go on a ship that is a little bit older than Wonder or Utopia, like Radiance or Jewel of the Seas, that visit the Bahamas, you'll pay a lot less to go there compared to Wonder or Utopia. So for anybody on a budget or looking to pinch some pennies, definitely choose a ship that visits the Bahamas that's older, because Utopia and Wonder still have the premium pricing to it. I paid a total of $2,013.80 for an Ocean View Balcony Category 2D. Now, this is not the cheapest room on the ship. If I got with an inside room, I probably could have saved a little bit more money on this, but oftentimes, especially with new ships, the cost difference between an inside and a balcony room really isn't that much. Now, the good thing is that includes all my gratuities, it includes all my port fees and taxes, so it really is the out-the-door price that you would have to pay for a 4-night cruise that goes to the Bahamas. And while certainly you could go on a cruise and never spend another dollar on there, I think realistically that's just not the case. As an example, here on Utopia, I spent more on other extras. As an example, I purchased Izumi Dinner for one night, which is the Japanese restaurant for sushi, for $29.99. I also tried out a personal trainer session, which is $98.99 for a 1-hour session in the gym. And I paid $155.96 for the Key. The Key is the VIP program that offers you extra perks and benefits. Very popular among new cruisers, and I wanted to review it. We've got at the end of this video, a look at my review of the Key so you get an idea of what it's all about. And then on top of all that, I also booked a spot at the Royal Railway Utopia Station, because this is the immersive train car restaurant that's really cool. And I've eaten there before, but this time they had a whiskey tasting. And I got a chance to go check that out and review it for the purposes of Royal Caribbean Blog, and that was another $69. In total, that added another $353 in additional costs, and that wasn't including any shore excursions or other additional, extras like the casino or things like that. One area I was able to save money, I suppose, is I didn't buy a drink package. Royal Caribbean's drink packages are so popular. They offer you a flat cost for unlimited drinks during your sailing. And it's very compelling and intriguing. In a lot of cases, I do purchase it. But on this one, I didn't for a couple of reasons. Number one, I am a Pinnacle Club member, which means I get 6 free drinks a day. The free drink voucher program begins if you get to the Diamond level at 4, Diamond Plus with 5, and Pinnacle Club at 6. So it's kind of a mini drink package. On top of that, I've also reached the Prime level in the casino. And because of that, I get free drinks in the casino at the casino bar. But even with those things, I have sometimes still purchased the drink package. The reasons why I didn't purchase it was, number one, I was solo on this cruise, so I wasn't cruising with any friends or family. Number two, this was the President's Cruise, and there was a lot more research involved with it. Not that I couldn't enjoy beverages, during some downtime, especially in the evening hours, but I kind of figured because I didn't really have a lot of friends on board, I wasn't sailing with a large group, and there was a higher than average work element to this particular sailing for me, I decided a drink package wasn't worth it for me. That being said, I still enjoyed a fair amount of drinks, but luckily I didn't have to pay extra for them because of the combination of my drink vouchers and, of course, the casino. Now, most people watching this video probably don't fall into either of those categories. And so getting a drink package is more of a decision of how much you're going to drink. And I think for a lot of folks, it really boils down to what I just talked about earlier, which is, who are you sailing with? What's the vibe of this cruise? I think very few people actually go on a cruise to do work, but are you there to just relax and chill out? Or are you there for a wedding or a honeymoon, or you're going there to meet a lot of friends on board? Maybe that's an impetus to get a drink package. I really like my cruise. I'll be back in the Bahamas again in January for at least 2 different sailings to visit the new beach club there. But my biggest takeaway for visiting the Bahamas is to plan ahead and understand when you're going to the Bahamas that having a plan for what you're going to do while you're there on shore is really critical. It's definitely not one of those ports you can simply walk off the ship and kind of meander. I mean, Perfect Day Coco you really could, I suppose, but Nassau Bahamas requires a firm plan ahead of time. That's a big one. And also, when you're planning a Bahamas cruise, pre-purchase everything you're going to want. I mentioned earlier that I purchased a restaurant reservation at Izumi, a whiskey tasting at the Royal Railway, and of course, even a gym training session. It saved me money by doing that compared to waiting to book it on board. Hopefully, if you have a cruise coming up to the Bahamas, or you're thinking about booking a cruise to the Bahamas, this video is going to help you out. In our next video, I've got to look at whether or not the Key is worth getting. This is one of the most popular options you could do as a new cruiser, but is it really going to get you useful benefits, or does everything sound better on paper? Let me know in the comments below your thoughts on a Bahamas cruise, any tips and tricks you have for visiting the Bahamas. Thanks for watching. This has been Matt from RoyalCaribbeanBlog.com, and we'll talk again real soon.